The Whispering Hollow. There was a stretch of forest behind the old town of Winstead known only as the Whispering Hollow. No maps marked it, and no roads led there. You didn't find the hollow, it found you. Kids told stories, of course, about ghosts and witches and people vanishing into the trees. Most were just tales. Most. Emily Ryder had never believed in them. She was 23, a freelance photographer with a fascination for forgotten places. So when she found an online forum post from a local hiker claiming he'd heard voices in the fog, coming from the North Woods, her curiosity ignited. Winstead was a 6-hour drive. She packed her Canon, a few days' worth of supplies, and hit the road. When she arrived, the town was dying, a husk of sagging buildings, shuttered shops, and elderly faces that all seemed to look through her. She asked about the hollow. No one answered. Not directly. One woman at the gas station finally muttered, "You hear it, don't answer back." Emily thought it was just small-town superstition. But that night, staying in a creaky roadside inn, she dreamt of trees whispering her name. The next morning, she set off toward the North Woods. After 2 hours of trudging through dense underbrush and damp earth, she found something strange. A stone arch, half buried in vines and moss, standing alone in the clearing like the doorway to nowhere. Words were carved into its arch, worn by centuries of wind and rain. "The hollow remembers." She stepped through. The air changed immediately. The sunlight dimmed, as if passing through something thick and unseen. Fog rolled low along the ground. Every tree leaned slightly inward, as if eavesdropping. The forest here was older, wilder, hungrier. She wandered deeper, snapping pictures, of gnarled roots twisted like arthritic hands, of broken dolls nailed to tree trunks, of symbols carved into bark in patterns that made her teeth hurt to look at. Then came the whispers. They started as a breeze, but carried syllables, broken phrases, urgent murmurs that seemed to come from no single direction. "Turn back, not yet, she watches." Emily froze. Her heart pounded, breath quickening as she scanned the trees. "Who's there?" she called. Silence. Then, "Emily." She stumbled backward. No one knew she was here. No one should know her name. Her phone had no signal. The compass app spun uselessly. The trees all looked the same now, and the path she thought she'd come from was gone. She was lost. The whispers grew louder, more frantic. Something moved between the trees, never quite seen, just glimpsed, a shadow that flickered with each blink. Night fell faster than it should. She tried to retrace her steps, but the woods warped around her. Trees she'd passed once before were suddenly ahead of her again. Symbols etched into bark now glowed faintly. Something was stalking her. And then, the cabin. Half collapsed, roof sagging, windows black. She didn't trust it, but the cold was sinking into her bones and the fog made it impossible to see more than a few feet. She stepped inside. The smell hit her first, mildew, rot, and something sweet, too sweet. Inside were old toys. A child's rocking horse, hand-carved and cracked. Dolls' missing eyes. A mobile hanging from the ceiling, spinning lazily even with no breeze. She lit her flashlight and caught a flash of writing on the wall. "Feed her the voice." She backed away, but her light flickered and died. Silence. Then a soft creak, from upstairs. She ran out the door. The fog had thickened to a wall. She ran blindly, branches whipping at her face, her breath ragged. Whispers screamed now, too many voices, all speaking in unison. Some sobbing, some laughing. "Don't leave. She's hungry. You came back." Emily tripped, falling into a ditch thick with leaves and mud. Her hand touched something solid. Wood. A box. She dug it free, a child's coffin. Small, white-painted, weather-worn. Her hands trembled as she brushed away the dirt. Carved into the lid, "Yar," her initials. Inside was a mirror. Her own reflection stared up at her, and blinked. She dropped it with a scream, falling backward. The whispers stopped. The fog pulled away, slowly, like a curtain being drawn. And standing in the clearing ahead, was herself. No camera, no gear, just a perfect replica, down to the scar on her right eyebrow and the dirt on her boots. "Who?" she choked. The double tilted its head. Smiled. "You're late," it said in her voice. "I've been waiting." It lunged. She turned and ran, not looking back. Branches tore at her, bloodied her face. She didn't care. The forest blurred. She fell again, this time through the stone arch. And the air was different. Normal. She collapsed on the grass, sobbing, her lungs burning. Behind her, the forest stood silent. The hollow was gone. She stumbled back to Winstead, found help, and returned to the city. The photos she'd taken were corrupted. Nothing but static. But the whispers didn't stay in the woods. At night, she hears them again, just beneath the hum of traffic, behind her music, within her dreams. Sometimes, she sees her reflection blink when she hasn't. And sometimes, late at night, in the silence, she hears her own voice whisper back. "You didn't run fast enough." The whisper didn't fade this time. It followed her. In the weeks after escaping the hollow, Emily tried to rebuild what was left of her life. She avoided mirrors entirely. Threw out every reflective surface. She even moved to a high-rise apartment with north-facing windows that didn't catch the light quite right. No reflections. No chance. But the voices didn't need glass anymore. They had her. At first, it was dreams, floating in fog while roots slithered across her skin, pulling her toward the ground. Then the changes started. She began forgetting things. Entire days. Waking up in places she didn't remember walking to. And each time she caught a glimpse of herself, on a dark screen, a puddle, a shop window at night, the other her was always smiling. Wider. Hungrier. It wasn't just in her head. She found a voicemail on her phone, left at 3:12 a.m. It was her voice. But it wasn't her. "I know you're scared. But it only hurts until the echo settles in. Let me help you disappear." Another morning, her neighbor knocked on her door. "Sorry," she said nervously. "But were you banging on my walls last night? You were laughing." Emily hadn't been home. The final crack came one night, when she saw herself in a security camera feed, standing in the hallway outside her own apartment, staring at the lens for 23 minutes without blinking. She was inside when it happened. That same night, the mirrors came back. One by one. No matter how many she destroyed or threw away, she'd wake up to find one resting near her bed, or leaned against the wall. The cracks always the same. One clean split, like a blade had cut them down the middle. And every time, a word was etched into the glass. Soon. She couldn't take it anymore. There was only one place to go. Back to the source. She returned to Winstead for the last time. The town was gone now. Literally gone. No one there. No lights. Just husks of buildings rotting in the mist. The hollow had spread. It began before she reached the trees. The fog greeted her like an old friend. Her body felt light, almost detached, like she wasn't quite inside it anymore. The stone archway stood cracked and moss-choked, but she didn't need to read the words this time. She stepped through. No flashlight. No camera. Only a hammer. Inside the hollow, the trees whispered constantly now. No more phrases, just emotion. Grief. Rage. Hunger. The cabin had grown. What once was a tiny structure now sprawled, warped into a massive, skin-like cathedral of rotting wood and bone. She stepped through the front door. Her double was already waiting. She sat in a chair made of roots, her eyes now fully black, mouth sewn into a constant grin. Around her, mirrors floated midair, glowing like stars. Each one showed a different version of Emily, some screaming, some silent, all trapped. "This is the last piece," the other said, rising. "You don't belong here," Emily whispered. The other shook her head. "I never did. But you brought me back. You crossed. You called my name. Now the veil is thin. What are you?" The reflection blinked. "I'm what's left when the real you forgets who she is." Then everything shattered. The walls screamed. The mirrors turned and flew toward her. Emily raised the hammer and smashed the nearest one. Pain tore through her body, not hers, the other's. The creature shrieked, falling to her knees. Emily struck again. And again. Every mirror broke and weakened the hollow. Lights blinked out. Trees cracked like lightning. The final mirror stood alone at the far end of the cabin. It showed Emily, before the hollow. Innocent. Whole. She reached for it, but the other lunged, dragging her backward, nails digging into her skin. "You belong to me now," it shrieked. "This is your place." Emily struggled free, raised the hammer, and hesitated. Then turned it around. She held the mirror, the final one, and showed it to her double. The creature froze, eyes wide. She saw herself for the first time, not a person, but a thing stitched together from shadows and stolen voices. It screamed, then turned to ash. Emily woke lying beneath the stone arch. It was morning. Birds chirped again. She was alive. Truly alive. She returned to the city. Slowly, the whispers faded. Her reflection was her own again. Mostly. A year later, Emily works as a trauma counselor. She doesn't talk about the hollow. But sometimes, when she passes by glass storefronts late at night, she pauses. Because in the reflection behind her, for a split second, she sometimes sees a little girl standing just beyond the tree line, eyes black, mouth stitched in a smile. Still waiting. Because the hollow never forgets. And it's always hungry.